Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to let you know that this month I've opened 10 spots for my Amazon Q&A sessions. These are a focused 60-minute call where you can bring your biggest Amazon challenges and leave your clear answers, or we can even use them for Amazon training. The course costs £149 and you can get a spot through the link in the show notes. Welcome to the Bring Your Product Idea to Life podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're getting started selling products or if you'd like to create your own product to sell. I'm Vicky Weinberg, a product creation coach and Amazon expert. Every week, I share friendly, practical advice as well as inspirational stories from small businesses. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode. Today I'm speaking to Tricia Connor Jackson. Tricia is a model, an actress, and also a content creator for brands. She also has a real background in products and product development, product marketing, including a really long career at Procter & Gamble, and she is also one of the panelists on the Amazon Prime show Amazon Shopping Court. So Corinne has a lot of experience in products, and that is why after meeting her very unexpectedly, I invited her to join me on the podcast today. So Corinne shares with us lots and lots of knowledge about what makes a product great from her experience of reviewing hundreds of now products, what makes a product great, the small things that might trip you up that you might not even be aware of. And she also talks about how to work successfully with content creators or influencers yourself if that's something you're looking to do. So there's an awful lot to learn in this conversation, and I would love now to introduce you to Tricia. So hi Tricia, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Vicky. It's great to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
So can we please start with you giving an introduction to yourself, your business, and everything that you do?
Yes. Tricia Connor Jackson. I'm based out of Los Angeles, California, but I'm also have a home in Spokane, Washington, which is what you can see here. I'm a full-time actress and model. I tend to do commercial modeling. I've done worked for about probably at this point, Vicky, about I'd say 350 brands. I tend to focus, or I tend to be hired primarily for the health, beauty, fitness, skincare, hair care, and home products. In sporting good products. So, not a lot of mechanical or IT or anything like that. Doesn't mean I haven't done it or can't do it. It's just not the area where I tend to get hired that much. Um, I do been in a lot of films, a lot of vertical films, and recently made a decision to kind of move off of that business and focus on feature films, and have done a few student films, just trying to grow my reel and to get myself out there in a different way. Not that I have anything against vertical films. It was a great learning platform for me, but decided to move off them. Prior to this, for 20 plus years, I was the sales executive. I was the vice president of sales running the United States sales force for companies like Nestle, Purina, Procter and Gamble, Stride Rite. And so my areas of expertise would, 20 plus years in business, and then you combine that to be a creator, actress, model, and they do really, believe it or not, coincide pretty easily.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that overview. I
Sure.
mean, there's so much I want to ask you about, but let's just get straight in with when you are
Sure.
asked to represent a product, what are you looking for to make sure it's an authentic fit for you?
Uh, I want to make sure that the folks that are hiring me are coming to the table with a real professional attitude, and that they are addressing the business and what they're asking me to do with the same level of professionalism that I'm going to use to create the brand. Because the areas where I found the disconnect, Vicky, have been where I've gone towards the project with give me a good brief, give me a clear brief, have the product show up on time, have it show up when I say it's going to show up, and be responsive to any questions I might have. Versus those relationships work great when on the other side they have the same attitude of professionalism. They're astute, they're attuned, they're responsive. Those are the relationships that work. Where I see the biggest disconnect is where brands will contact me, and then I'll send them my proposal, and then I don't hear from them for 2 weeks, and then the product doesn't show up for a month, and then I have 4 products sitting over here right now where I've agreed to produce for them. I've had the products for a week, and now I'm trying to get the briefs. And
Yeah, and
tho-
that's hard for you to do a
those
good job.
Yeah, it makes it harder for me to do a great job if I don't feel as though they're as much of a partner in the process.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually, can you explain to the audience like what kind of content you're producing for brands just so they get an idea?
Gosh, I do everything. I mean, this morning I will be doing what would be called a video sales letter. I'm sure you're familiar with that. That's where typically it has over 500 words to maybe 4,000 words. So I'm doing one of those, and then I'm doing a little bit of B-roll where I have to, put something on my hands and kind of show how it made my hands feel. Then I have to go outside, and then I'm going to a grocery store this morning, meaning I have to get there early enough, like this, so the store is kind of empty, so I have the permission to film. And I'm doing a kind of a video sales letter and just hand shots of me dropping things in grocery carts. And I hire a film assistant to help me do that. They're very, very good. I've done a lot of work with this gentleman, and he does a great job. So I do that. I do things like skincare, hair care, get in the shower, show myself washing my hair, styling my hair, bare face makeup, bras, jeans, creation. Um, I'm doing something for pest control today. So, Vicky, it's a lot. It's pretty much, you know, I don't do a lot of cooking in the home. I've done several cooking videos, UGCs, but those are so time consuming that my dollar per hour is I don't make a lot of money on those after the number of hours I put into it. Things like I got to go to the grocery store. I got to buy the food. I got to get it home. I got to prepare it. I got to cook it. I got to show the different scenes of the cooking it. Those are not my favorite. So I kind of turned myself away from those.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
is the content you're creating, is it mostly intended for social media? Is that where most of it ends up?
Yes. 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 Definitely.
Perfect.
Yep.
So I know you've worked with like big global corporations and you've worked with much smaller brands. Do you see any differences in how they approach promoting their products and the storytelling around their products?
I'd say that the bigger brands probably are more articulate at telling what their story or what they want you to say. They don't their asks are less broad. They're very specific. Whereas newer brands, what I find is they will send me the product and just say, do a review on the product. Now, note on that. I think you get more authenticity when you do send me the product and ask me to speak about the product and give an honest review versus sending me a script telling me verbatim what I'm going to say. I think they both hold their important place in being a creator. And I think brands that are at the higher level, they know what their push points are. So they know that they need to have those in the script. So I very much adhere to that. But I also enjoy and appreciate the opportunities where I can give honest feedback on brands.
That makes sense. And so for my audience who are product brands, it sounds like if they're going to work with a creator like yourself, it would make sense for them to share that product with them so they can get some authentic content and so the person can actually use the product and see
Yeah.
it for themselves.
Yeah, no question. I worked for so many brands, but one recently where I noticed their ad that they have out there is just blowing up, is where they literally said, "Hey, Trisha, just I mean, granted, I had a very long script, probably 500 words, followed it word for word, but then they sent me this one sentence, "Hey, just tell us what you think about the product." Well, that's the one that I see out there every day that they're using and that so Vicky, I think it shows that when you do give experienced creators the opportunity to really speak about a product with honest feedback, maybe you could get even better content than you could with a scripted brief.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And with all of the experience of products that you've had, what do you think makes a product stand out, both to reviewers and content creators, but also to consumers?
I think it's I view life as a pie and I view products as a pie as well. I mean, having 20 plus years of experience in branding and working for undeniably one of the best consumer products companies in the world, which is Procter and Gamble. I mean, 64 brands, 16 categories, a leader in most every category. What I've noticed is that when you look at a brand, you have to look at multiple factors. You have to look at the packaging. Is it clear? Is it specific? Does it sell what you want it to sell? Is your price point appropriate? Does it deliver a need to your consumers that's relevant? Is it special in that area? And then is your marketing, coming around in the same way? And so, you see what I'm saying, Vicky? I don't think it's just one thing that makes a product terrific. I think it's really understanding where you fit in that category and setting yourself apart not only by what you can do, but is your price appropriate? Is your packaging appropriate? Are your directions once you open the package, are they clear and specific? Can you read them? Those are things that trick people up. And I see it all the time with product that shows up at my door that I'm thinking it might be great. And I've had many products that are great, but the packaging isn't good. You can't even read the ingredients on the back of it. Like that doesn't work. The lettering is so small that you can't even read the ingredients. Well, we as consumers, we want to know what we're using and putting in our body or putting in our homes. Those things matter. But
Definitely. I bought a
mhm.
supplement recently and it's like the packaging is beautiful. It's like a corally pink and the writing with the ingredients is like it's gold. I can't read it. I
Okay, I
cannot read it. I don't know
love
what's
it.
in it.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because I really try to get that a point across to brands is that you have to put what's in the product. And we're smart. I mean, we're smarter. We're smart. Your consumers, most of them do want to know, especially if it's a supplement or skincare or hair care. Those things you literally put into your blood system, we want to know what's in them.
Yeah, and
And
it's really important, and it's such a shame because the product is great, the
yeah.
packaging is beautiful, but for
Oh,
me, it's not functional because I didn't even know how many to take, Trisha. I had to go on the website to find out how many of
oh,
these I'm taking because I can't read it on the bottle because it's so small, and it's it has it's a really small thing, but for me, that's made my experience of this product so much worse because it was inconvenient. I didn't want to have to go and
totally.
Google
Totally.
how many of these
No.
I'm taking.
I'm so glad you said that. And I'm telling you, if I could get that across to brands, it's so important. You have to make your labels readable. You have to make the instructions understandable. And the miss on that and then I've had brands say to me, well, they can go to the website and watch how to use the product. I'm like, no, I'm excited. The product showed up at my door. I want to be able to open the package and work and make it work for me. I took the time to research it and buy it. Can't you take the time to explain how I'm supposed to use it or tell me what's in it? I mean, it's presumptuous of brands to believe that we would tolerate otherwise, in my opinion.
That is such a good point about how to use it. I didn't think about that because that often happens where you scan a QR code and it takes you somewhere and it's just another step.
Yeah, why would I do that? I already satisfied you by buying it, using my money that I've earned to buy your product. Can't you give it to me in a way that tells me how to use it? It makes no sense, you
It
know,
really doesn't.
you
Uh,
know.
Obviously, Trisha, don't give us names or anything, but do you have any other examples of products that you've seen or you've reviewed where you thought this would be great, but where just an example of a small thing that's kind of made you go, this would be perfect if only? Because I think that's sort of things really useful for people to hear. Because when
Yeah.
you hear it, you go, of course, that makes sense. But I'm sure lots of us can sometimes get tripped up by these things, not even realizing that we're doing it.
Totally. Yeah, a little example of a product. I've got 2 product examples, for example, and I won't give the names, of course, but because I have respect for both of these brands, and these brands actually did, which is interesting, Vicky, they did hire me to instruct them on what I thought was wrong with both of these brands, because it was 3 of them, in fact. And I just said, you know, great brand. Here's the problem I had with it. And all three of them got on a Zoom, different companies got on a Zoom call with me to say, tell me why it didn't work for you. Well, one of them was a wonderful cleansing product for your face, but you couldn't, it was a gel kind of a formula, but you couldn't squeeze the bottle to get the product out. So you opened the thing and you had to shake it down, shake it down, shake it down, and you couldn't get it out. So then you had to take the cap off, shake it down, get it into your hand, and then apply it to your face. Okay, so packaging completely wrong, right? That was one. The second product was a body, like a body scrub, and great product, smell good, very good ingredients, etc. But when you put it on your hand and you got into the shower, the product would you couldn't apply it to your body and have it adhere. It didn't stick. It fell off your body and into the drain. So this $45 tube of cleanser, literally, I watched it going down the drain. I'm like, that's a defect, right? And then the other one was a product that you would put on your skin, and it really felt good. And I knew there was a very high concentration of vitamin C in it, which is so important for brown skin's, sunspots, sun damage. It's critically important. But the dropper didn't work. Like there must have been, some sort of a defect in the dropper because you couldn't get it to work. So then you'd pour it into your hand, Vicky, and then you'd have all this serum in your hand, way too much, and you'd waste the product. So those are kind of one is a quality issue, and the other two were packaging issues.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing those. I think it's really useful to hear real examples.
Yeah, I mean, I have more. I mean, but those are I'd say the biggest defect I see in a product is the dispensing of the product. And have you created it in such a way that she can use it in the manner in which it's intended to be used? That's the biggest defect. And I have another example of a lotion, a body lotion, beautiful product, wonderful. I love it, love it, love it. But when I tried to pump it, it would slip out of my hands. So I said, you guys just need to make a ridge around the bottle. So when I am pumping it, because you're supposed to use it when your body's wet. So when I am pumping it, that I'm holding it and pumping it, that it doesn't slip out of my hand. And she's like, we never even thought of that. And I said, then that's the point. When you give the instructions as to how to use the product, do it yourself before you create the package or once you create the package.
Yeah, I mean, does it surprise you that some of these things haven't been picked up already?
Yeah, I really am. It does. And sometimes I laugh. I'm like, I don't even have to use it once to know that it's a packaging defect. Packaging, this goes back to that question you asked me earlier. What makes a product good? And I know I said it's a lot of things. And packaging is one of them,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
So I encourage people who are creating products to recognize it's not one thing that's going to make you successful. It's not. It's packaging, product, label, price. Do you meet the need? Are your directions clear? Can they read the packaging? Are you delivering what you said you were going to deliver? All of it.
And when you're talking about packaging as well, the key thing I'm taking from you is that it has to obviously look good, but it also has to be functional.
Oh gosh, yeah. Because each of these products that I just mentioned to you, their packaging was good on all of those brands I just mentioned to you. Pretty and well done. But the functionality of those packages was just defective.
Yeah, and that's such a shame because I see that sometimes with things that I buy, they hit one or the other. And yeah, like I bought a conditioner recently for my daughter, and it's a child's
Oh,
like hair conditioner, and
yes.
she's 9, so she washes her own hair, but she can't get
Yes.
this conditioner out of the bottle because you have to shake it, hold it upside down, shake it really hard, bang it on
See?
something, and she's 9,
Right.
she's not going to do that. But
No, she's not.
this is a product for children, so I can't understand why it's not more child friendly. Like it could be in a
You
tub and she could
see?
scoop it, or it could have a bigger hole
Right.
so it was easier to squeeze. And it
Or
really
the
frustrates me every time.
yeah. or the bottom of the package have a suction so that it does stay in the shower and she can simply walk up and just pump, 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 you know? Because let's face it, getting a 9-year-old to wash and condition their hair is a feat within itself. But for us to make it difficult for them, they're like me, they're just not going to do it.
No, and then it makes it difficult for me because I then have to get involved. So, you know
Right.
what? It just means I'm never going to buy that brand again. And it's a shame because it
No.
smells nice and it makes her hair lovely, but it's
Yeah.
just an inconvenience and it's such a
Yeah.
tiny, tiny, tiny thing.
Tiny thing. Yeah, I've even taken products, Vicky, that I've liked, and I've removed them from their original packaging and put them into a package where I can actually use them and dispense it. And I don't almost ever want to do that, but I also hate to throw away good product because it's, in an unfunctional package. So I've done that before.
That's actually quite a
Yeah.
good tip.
I was going to suggest you do that with that conditioner because she's not going to use the rest of it, but you need to get it in a package that it works for.
Yeah, that's a good tip, and I'm going to do that. So, Tricia, you're now a product reviewer on Amazon's MGM series Shopping Court. Can you
Yes.
tell, particularly my UK listeners who may not have heard of that series yet, can you explain what that is and then tell us a little bit about how you got on there and what your role is?
Yeah. It's really cool. I don't if you guys do you guys have Amazon over there? Amazon Live or Prime?
We do have Amazon Prime, yeah.
Okay. Well, you can go see the show. It's called Shopping Court. It's on Amazon Prime. It was originally a live show, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But basically, the concept of the show, I think, is wonderful. Is they take a myriad of um, products from Amazon. So each week is a different category. There's 6 episodes. Each week is a different category: home, travel, beauty, fitness, etc. And they bring on multiple products. I think it's roughly 7 to 10. And the jurors, there were 6 of us who were chosen, and a very wonderful diversity of men and women. And we actually were given the products in advance to use them and try them. And then we came to the show and gave our review of the products, and we would give a thumbs up to buy or a thumbs down not to buy to consumers. The judge leading the show is Bianca Del Rio, who's a wonderful I don't know what you call it, uh, cross dressing, whatever you call it, but a wonderful character, very talented. And then the bailiff is a gentleman who's very talented as well. And so we basically are reviewing the products and sharing feedback on the products. And at the end of the day, the judge will then decide to either rule with us or rule against us. The best part is, Vicky, it is funny because they've chosen a really strong group of jurors, very diverse. And that, anytime you get true diversity in any relationships, you get the best, most great, the get best chemistry. And we really do have great chemistry. We were chosen by having to review a product in advance. So I picked 2 products that I liked, that one works well to get on its own, one works well on its own. But when you put these 2 products together, it's like magic. And that's what I did in my interview, is to say, here's a great product, but these 2 need to be in partnership with one another, and that's what makes things amazing. And that's how that was my audition for it. And just other questions that they asked me, but it was really fun. And we've got season 1 out there, and we're just plugging away for season 2. So please, I hope everybody watches it. If nothing else, you're going to get a good laugh.
Yeah, that sounds great. And also you might get some ideas for Christmas presents as well by the time this goes out. So that's good.
Yeah. And any people watching, by the way, I will tell you that if I vote yes for a product, I'm picky. And you got to trust me. If I have voted yes for a product, it's good.
That's really good to know. So obviously
Yeah.
you have so much experience in product. So I'd love to know from you, Tricia, what do you think brands overlook when they're trying to get their products seen? They're trying to get visibility for their products.
I think that it a lot of people think they can create something, and they do, but it's really the delivery of that product and delivering the message of what that product can do to the consumers. I got this product not long ago that was supposed to alleviate pests in your home. Um, but it only talked about one kind of pest. It only talked about, sorry to say this, but I mean, it only talked about roaches. And so I communicated with the brand a couple times back and forth, and they're like, "Oh no, it works great for ants. Oh, it works great for mice. Oh, it works great for this. It works." I'm like, "Well, you didn't say that on the package, so you're missing your ability to really, get yourself out there by only focusing on one thing." So I think that when brands create themselves, I think you really need to say, "What is my brand going to deliver?" And do you identify that in the marketing and your verbiage of it? Do you explain that well? People are searching more and more because they have more avenues to search, Vicky. They're searching more and more on the internet before they buy a product. So once a person gets to your product, tell them what it does and tell them how it does it better than any other or as well at a better price, for example, right?
Definitely. And it's interesting you say that because when I talk to people about their Amazon product listings, that's one of the things I say a lot is that your listing has to actually sell your products. You can't be shy because Amazon, like everywhere else, is so busy. There are so many products like yours.
Yeah.
Someone has, you search for something, you get all of these results. They first of all have to decide to click through and look at your
Yeah.
product. So the price has to be right, the picture has to be great. Then they
Yep.
click through, and then you really have to sell it because if you don't really
Totally.
sell it and tell people what it is, what it does, what the benefits are, they'll go and find another product, probably quite similar
Totally.
to yours, that does.
I love that you say that because sometimes I talk to people in my life and my career and coaching people, professionally in their jobs and to get jobs and have interviews and everything. And I'll say, when they're in an interview, a job interview, I'll say, you need to tell them that you won that award. And they go, well, gosh, do you think they'll think I'm bragging? I'm like, if not then when? If you aren't to sell yourself during a job interview, if you're not to sell or promote yourself during a listing on Amazon, if not then when? Nobody else is going to sell you or promote you any better than yourself. And when you have the opportunity to speak to what you can do better than everybody else or as well at a better price, don't be shy. It
Yeah,
defeats the purpose.
absolutely. I mean, especially on a product listing, because your listing is there to sell your
Oh,
product. That is its only purpose. And of course, when I say sell, it's not about selling your product to everyone, but it's about selling your product to the person who needs your product. So, in your example,
that's
if you've
it.
got a product that kills ants and nowhere in there does it say that it kills ants, and I'm a person with an ant problem, I could buy your product, but I won't because you haven't told me that you can solve my problem.
Exactly. Exactly, and he was just he was like, "Oh, wait, should I put that on the thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I should be saying that in the UGC I'm creating for you. I should be mentioning all the things that it alleviates and why and how." He didn't even tell me how and why it worked. Why didn't they tell me how and why it worked? I couldn't believe it. I so that was an example of a wonderful relationship that has since formed with this client, and I've worked for them multiple times now because I we've there was a good back and forth communication of what does your product do? How does it do it? How come the UGC doesn't tell why it works? How does it work?
And I'm sure by having that relationship, you've really helped that brand as well, because these are probably questions that they hadn't considered and they're important questions. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes when
Yeah.
we're really close to our own product, we know it so well, we forget
Yeah.
what other people don't actually know and what they need
Right.
to know because we know all of it. So we forget.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Another brand that I work with, they are very much focused on neuropathy. But I said, I put it on my hand and the arthritis in my hand, it felt better. They went, "Oh, we never thought about that. Of course it does help that." So now we're branding it to not only work with neuropathy, but also work with arthritis pain in your hands and I'm like, see, isn't that neat where that relationship you can work back and forth with a creator and really get good feedback on how to promote your product?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I've got a follow-up question on that, which is, so what advice have you got for someone listening who wants to work with a product creator to help sell their products or review their products? What advice have you got for making that a really successful relationship?
I think it started with what we said at the very beginning is be responsive, be clear, be timely, you know, be, give good insight on the on the front, and then allow the creator to ask questions if they have questions back and forth, because nobody wants to spend 2 hours creating something and then finding out that it wasn't what the brand wanted and you have to reshoot it. So be responsive in that respect. The other thing I think is really important that I think, here's an example. I got a message yesterday from a brand that would like to work with me. They sent me two briefs, and the total number of B-roll in the briefs, Vicky, was 43 B-roll. Okay. Do you know what B-roll is, right?
Yes, yes. But
Okay. Do
please to explain for anyone who doesn't know. I know, but I can't. We can't assume everyone will.
Okay. B-roll is where you want the creator to do non-speaking actions that relate to the use of the product. Okay. And for example, let's say this is a water bottle. Have the creator pop the lid open, show the opening, and drink from the product and reseal it, put it down, and take it with them to the gym, or pack it up in their to go bag and take it with them to the gym. Okay, that's called B-roll. And B-roll is time consuming. Very, and it's very hard to get the shot exactly the way they want it. So asking me for 43 B-roll, and I sent him a message. I said, for me to do that brief with 43 B-roll is going to be approximately $1,525. Okay. I know this brand doesn't have the money for that. And they said, well, can you work with me on the price? I'm like, eliminate some of the B-roll. Some of it was duplicative. Some of it was show the brand on the table, in the sunlight, and get up close and show the ingredient list. Okay. You see what I have to do? I have to put it on a table, make sure it's good light, bring it in and see if the ingredient list is clear. That's hard. And I think that these brands think that this B-roll, I think they need to trim their B-roll list to be more meaningful and more realistic. And unless you want to pay for it. I mean, one of the things that they asked me to do was to have my kitchen table full of gift wrap that's all messed up and tape and, you know, um, gift bags and everything and tissue paper all over the table, right? And show your frustration with trying to wrap a present. Okay, how much time does that take for me to set that up? Think about it. I have to go out to the garage, get all the stuff, put it on the table, mess it up, use my own gift wrap, use my own tissue, use my own everything, and set up the camera for one shot. Like, okay, I'll do it, but you're going to pay me to do it. And I have a minimum rate for B-roll, and I'm pretty strict to it too, because that's money. I mean, my time is money. And I think brands need to realize that when you're asking a creator to create, be really thoughtful of what you're asking them to create.
Yeah, thank you for explaining all of that. I think that is really useful for people to know. And I guess B-roll does have a place, but from your experience, because you've created a lot of content, what is the type of content that you've seen that works really well for brands? Because I'm assuming it isn't the B-roll. I think it's B-roll's good to have for various things, but I'm sure that isn't what drives sales.
I don't, I think it's, truthfully, I think it's product review. It's talking about the product. It's sharing the experience of how the product worked. And and then with a little bit of B-roll. I mean, I work for so many brands, and the B-roll that I see works is where I'm saying, this really worked, to build up the thickness of my hair, and my hair feels better than it ever did, and I can wear it in a ponytail, and I can, but did you see right there? I just did two B-roll, right? I showed here, and then I put it in a ponytail. That's B-roll. That's two B-roll. But didn't you feel like it was believable B-roll?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you were saying it to me while you were doing it, and it felt very natural. It didn't feel contrived. It felt like you were just
No.
showing me how this product's working
Right.
for your hair.
Exactly. And those are the B-rolls that I think work really well. And, so many of them want me to do B-roll, like, here's the fitness product we want you to take. And then we want you to go to the gym and be lifting weights, looking in the mirror, doing biceps and doing triceps. I'm like, guys, okay, first of all, it's going to cost you a lot of money for me to go to a gym, drive there, set up a camera in a gym, and shoot film in a gym. By the way, most gyms don't let you do shoot film in a gym. So note to self, you're asking your creator to do something that it's very likely very difficult for them to do. And but I understand that you need that. Why don't you have them doing it in their home? Why don't you have them lifting weights in their home? Why don't you have them, doing some cardio or something out, in the front yard, walking down the street? But these videos, these B-roll where they're asking you to go to the grocery store and get in the shopping cart and go buy coffee. Okay, well, I'll do it, but you're paying for it. And I think that those are Vicky, those are the projects that I price them out. I give my price and then I walk away. If they can't meet the price, I'm like, you're too difficult to work with because you do not understand what you're asking because you personally haven't done it.
So, for anyone who wants to work with a creator for their content and has a limited budget or a smaller budget, would you suggest that product reviews are the best way to go? So, if you could
I'd
only
say
ask for one thing, that'd be what you would
uh,
suggest.
I always do this. I always say, ask for for like I know I'm going to end up a conversation with this brand today where gave them the $1,500 price. I know I'm going to get their business, but I also know how I'm going to get it. I'm going to say, let's do a product review and then let's do 4 B-roll. Let's pick from the list of 43. Let's pick the 4 that you think are going to sell the product most because that ad that they're creating, Vicky, it's only 15 to 30 seconds. And each B-roll shot is usually about 3 seconds. So to get a good product review, you want to spend 20 seconds doing that and maybe 3 B-roll or 4 B-roll. That's it. That's realistic. But 43 B-roll? It's
Yeah, that seems like a lot. And I think from what I'm taking, what you're saying, the best if you're working with a creator, the best thing you can ask for is for them to give their honest opinion of your product
yep,
while having your
yep,
product to hand.
yep. Yeah, and also what I love it when they give me bullet points of the things they want me to mention in the product review. Because that's what they again think is the most important thing to sell their product. Just tell me what you think makes your product better than everything else. And then, yeah, let me sell it and then give you some pretty nice, some really nice, clean, beautiful B-roll and let's give it a shot and see how it works.
Out of interest, Tricia, and this is you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what do you do, or do you ever find yourself in a situation where you get the bullet points and they say these are the key features of our products, and you look at the product and you go, this doesn't quite match up? Does that ever happen?
Not very often.
That's good.
Believe it or not. Yeah, not very often at all. And if that is the case, like I said, Vicky, what I will do is communicate with the brand and say, "Hey, I'm absolutely going to say this. Because you've hired me to, I will say this, but here's what I noticed is a problem." And so I'm just always honest in a very polite and professional way to share. Yes, I will do this, but I see a slight inconsistency.
Yeah, and I think that feedback's really useful because, as we said earlier, I think hopefully people are getting feedback on their products before they get to the point where they're working with someone like
Yeah,
you. You'd hope they are, but if not, and perhaps you're the first person outside of the brand to use the product, I guess that feedback is really valuable because until you start selling something, you don't actually always know what's wrong. I know
exactly.
the first product that I ever sold, I didn't realize how bad my packaging was. Like it wasn't
Oh,
strong enough for the product. And it wasn't
wow.
until it was getting shipped around that I realized that because it was fine when you just were handling it. But as soon as you put it in a box and shipped it
Oh,
somewhere, it was getting damaged. But I didn't know that because I hadn't posted it
oh,
anywhere. So
oh,
I think it's really easy as founders to miss things because we're so close to it, and maybe we
yeah,
can't test every single stage of the process.
yeah, yeah, man, what a great point that is. No, I mean, that's wise. I do think that when you're selling a product, you should be the consumer from the start to the finish. You know, you and maybe you and two other family members be the consumer and test it out. Um, but if it gets in the hands of a creator, you know, I hope for the brands that you're representing, I hope that it gets in the hands of a creator that is honest and is forthcoming and shares feedback of that product to help it improve because I want my brands to succeed. Oh my gosh, do I want them to succeed? And I'm their proponent, and I don't want to work for a brand if it's not going to succeed. So, what I can do to help, I hope I'm not the only creator that does that.
Yeah, I hope not, and I'm sure you're not. I'm sure there are lots of really great creators out there. I mean, there are lots of people whose career is as a product creator, a content creator,
Yeah,
sorry. So you would hope that the reason that they are in that and the reason they're doing well in that field is because they are working with brands in a
yeah,
really constructive way.
yeah. That's our goal, right? And I hope
Absolutely.
that brands have mutual respect because I think sometimes brands hire people like myself and they think, "Oh, you're just some actress, you're just some model, you're not professional, you're not this, you're not that." I do sense sometimes some disrespect, and that really sends me over the brink because, you know, for example, I've worked with brands where it takes me 2 months, 3 months to get paid, and I'm like, "You know what? You sent me a note and said, "Can you create this? Can you create it in 48 hours? Can you deliver good content?" And I did, and I see them using it and not paying me. That's just wrong. I think they think that we're just, you know, sometimes I hate to say this, but ditzy models out there, but we're not. And you know, when we deliver for you, show us the same respect that you know when that you deliver to us, which is payment.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely not okay. Well, thank you
No, it's
so
not.
much. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I've got one final question for you, Tricia, before we go, if that's okay. So, for
Sure.
everyone listening, I'd love to know what's your number one piece of advice for something they could do today that would help their products connect better with their audiences? As so many of us are obviously selling our products online at the moment.
I think that it is read your description on Amazon and ask other people to read your description on Amazon and ask them to say, after reading that, tell me what you believe this product to do and tell me any questions that you have. That's it.
That's a really good piece of advice. Thank you. And out of interest, I hadn't planned to ask you this, but as part of Shopping Cart, do you look at the Amazon descriptions for the products that you have on Shopping
Yeah,
Cart?
of course.
You do. So
Yes.
you do
Oh, of
read the
course.
product descriptions. And do you find
Oh,
discrepancies between the listings and the products themselves?
I find that they undersell themselves.
Yeah, and this
The
is what
one,
I mean. I find that people
yeah.
very rarely oversell themselves.
Yeah, almost never, really. And, no, I find that they undersell themselves. They don't list all the things that the products really can do because in the shopping court, when I would give my reviews, I was like, "Well, here are the great things about this product, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this." And then you read the description, and some of those great things aren't even in there. I'm like, "How did they miss that? That's so obvious."
Yeah, it comes back to what we were saying earlier about selling. And I think sometimes people are reluctant to kind of brag about their product
Yeah, I know.
on a product listing, but I think it's maybe on your own website it's slightly different, but I think on Amazon in particular you have to just really tell
Yeah,
everyone why to buy
yeah,
yours and not to go back to the next
yeah.
one because the competition is so much. It's really interesting you say that because
Mhm.
I've also had the same experience. I've never seen anyone oversell or make promises
No.
that they can't deliver. I've never seen that. It's always been the other way
Yeah.
where I'm like, hang on, your product is this and you haven't said it,
Yeah,
or there's something great about their brand, like I don't know, they have great environmental credentials or something, and I
right,
think but you haven't put that anywhere, and that's really
right.
important.
Yeah, I mean that, Vicky, I'd say that's by far the number one miss I see on Amazon not is underselling themselves and not listing all the things that makes this product a great product. And, you know, I think they should look at their reviews and see what the reviews are saying is great about it and make sure that if that's a repetitive statement in their reviews, make sure that that's noted in their listing.
It's funny how aligned we are on this because we haven't spoken about this, but that's something I actually talk about. And also to look at the reviews and if people have questions, to
Totally.
pick up that, okay, we haven't done a great job of talking about
Yeah.
this.
Absolutely. It's the 2 things I said. Make sure that it's selling what you wanna sell and find out if it's answering and if you need to answer any questions. Those 2 things. That's it.
Oh, this has been
That's
so
what I would say.
brilliant. Thank you so much,
Thank
Tricia. I've really
you.
enjoyed talking
Thank
to
you.
you.
I enjoyed talking to you. I'm glad we made this work
Yeah, me too. And thank you for
at
getting
the
up
dawn
so
at the
early.
dawn of day.
I know. I've been watching, as we've been recording, I've been watching it slowly get light outside your
Isn't it
window.
neat? Yes. Well, if any of your brands have any interest in working with me, I would be most interested in working with them. It'd be
Brilliant.
great.
Thank you. And I'll put all of your
Thank you.
details in the show notes.
Thank you so much. Okay, see you later.
Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. Do remember that you can get the full back catalogue and lots of free resources on my website, vickyweinberg.com. Please do remember to rate and review this episode if you've enjoyed it, and also share it with a friend who you think might find it useful. Thank you again, and see you next week. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. Remember, if you'd like some more support, I have 10 Amazon Q&A sessions available this month. These are 1-hour calls where we help you tackle your biggest challenges, get you moving forward, and we can even use it for some Amazon training. They cost £149 and you can book via the link in the show notes.